now. All right, so we're recording. So let me share my screen. I did think there was a couple more people that were, oh no, it's my Amazon, that were attending, but sorry, that's my Amazon. I'm searching for a new olive oil bottle. Here we go. Right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
You can. Okay, so let me present this. All right, I'm going to minimize this. Okay, so we're going to talk about today about emotional eating and how to stop it. All right, so this is what we're going to go over. Let me just move this out of the way. All right, so we're going to be talking about what emotional eating is, whether you're an emotional eater or not, the emotional eating cycle, the difference between emotional eating and physical hunger, and ways to manage emotional eating. All right, so can you see this bar down the bottom, Tanil? Is this on your screen? Because it's really annoying me. It's right in the way. There we go. Let me put it back down there. All right.
I don't really see a bar.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so what is emotional eating? So, as you know, most people know what emotional eating is. It's basically using food to make yourself feel better, to feel emotional needs rather than the needs of your stomach. So we don't always eat to satisfy natural hunger. Many people turn to food for comfort, stress relief, and to reward themselves. And also, I want to add there as well that I think a lot of people, or some people, they eat out of boredom as well, just out of boredom and out of habit. So, emotional eating, as we know, it doesn't fix the emotional problems that we have, usually makes things worse long term because the emotional problem still exists. It's still there. And then you've got that whole guilt of the overeating to deal with after the event. Okay, so how do you know if you're, oh, I think I might have just skipped a page there. Hold on one second. No, I didn't. I skipped a page. Okay, so how do you know if you're an emotional eater? So if you eat more when you're feeling, generally when you're stressed, you turn to food. You eat when you're not hungry or even when you're full. You eat to feel better, maybe to calm, soothe yourself when you're mad, sad, bored, anxious. You reward yourself with food. You eat until like you're overly stuffed. You feel powerless and out of control around food. So if you can tick off one or a couple of those, then you may well be an emotional eater, and it is very common. So don't if you can tick any of these boxes, don't be upset because it is very common. And emotional eating is essentially just a coping mechanism, and then it turns into a habit, which is what we want to try and break. Okay, so this is the emotional eating cycle. So using food as a pick me up reward occasionally, it's not a bad thing. But when eating is your primary coping mechanism when you're stressed, anxious, angry, exhausted, or even bored, you can get stuck in an unhealthy cycle where the real problem is never addressed. And this is usually how the cycle goes. So something happens that upsets you, you feel an overwhelming urge to eat. You eat more than you know that you should, or that you even want to, and then you feel guilty and powerless over food. So that's just a little screenshot there that I thought I would add. Okay, and then let's talk about the emotional eating cycle. So you might feel good in the moment when you're eating, but the feelings that triggered the eating, they're still there. And you often feel worse than you did because of the excessive calories that you just consumed. And then you end up beating yourself up for losing control and not having more willpower, compounding the problem. You stop learning healthier ways to deal with your emotions. The weight can creep on, and the vicious cycle, unfortunately, continues. Okay, so I think this is really important here is to understand the difference between emotional hunger and physical hunger because there's a big difference. So, emotional hunger comes on suddenly, like it hits in an instant, and you just got this and it feels like overwhelming. It feels urgent. It's something that you want, you have to do. Whereas as physical hunger, the urge to eat doesn't feel as dire or demand instant satisfaction unless you've gone like a long period of time without food. And then emotional hunger craves specific comfort foods. Like you very rarely see somebody who's emotional eating like eating salad or fruit. It's usually foods that are just more sugary snacks, more junk. So when you're physically hungry, you're gonna eat almost anything, right? But emotional hunger craves junk food or sugary snacks that provide that instant rush. Emotional hunger often leads to mindless eating, and emotional hunger isn't, oh, sorry, message just come through there. Emotional hunger isn't satisfied once you're full, you keep wanting more and more. Like there's just no off button. Whereas physical hunger doesn't need to be stuffed. You feel satisfied when your stomach is full, end of. Emotional hunger isn't located in the stomach. So rather than a growling belly, you feel your hunger more as a craving. And emotional hunger often leads to regret, guilt, or shame when you eat to feel a physical hunger. You don't feel the same guilt because you're eating to give your body what it needs. So those are the differences between emotional and physical hunger. And I have got a chart here as well. So I don't know if you want to take maybe a screenshot of that. Let me just check to see if somebody else was joining. All right, no. Okay. So as we can see here, emotional hunger versus physical hunger. Emotional hunger comes on suddenly. Physical hunger, just comes on gradually. You get more hungry during the day. You hear your stomach growling. Emotional hunger feels like it needs to be satisfied instantly, but with physical hunger, it can wait. Emotional hunger craves specific comfort foods. Physical hunger, you basically would eat anything if you were absolutely starving to an extent. Emotional hunger isn't satisfied with a full stomach, but physical hunger is, and emotional eating triggers feelings of guilt, powerlessness, and shame. Eating to satisfy physical hunger doesn't make you feel bad about yourself. Like when you have your dinner each day, you have your dinner, you don't feel bad for eating because you know that you're eating to satisfy yourself, not due to emotions and stress. Okay, so now we're going to talk about like how we can stop this cycle. And it's not going to change overnight. Like breaking any habit, it's going to take time, but here's some steps that you can work towards to help this cycle. So the first one is identifying your triggers. So the first step is to identify your personal triggers. What situations, places, or feelings make you reach to food for comfort? So identify what they are. And the next one is keep an emotional diary. Every time you feel compelled to reach for food, take a moment to figure out like what caused you that urge. Write it all down in a food or mood diary, whatever you want to call it, like what actually happened, what upset you. Write down what you ate or what you had the urge to eat, your feelings before you ate, what you felt as you were actually eating, and how you felt after. So I think like keep that diary every time that it happens or you get that feeling, put everything down and literally write all of those things out. Like, what was it that upset you? Or was it just that you were bored? Was you stressed? Was you anxious? Like, write it down what you ate or what you was craving and your feelings before and after the event as well. And then over time, you will likely see a pattern emerge. Once you identify your emotional triggers, the next thing is to identify healthier ways to feed your feelings. Okay, so this is a good one, and I use a lot of this with my clients. So when cravings hit, just pause. Before you take action, pause. Take 5 minutes, give yourself 5 minutes, and you can set a timer on your phone as well. Like literally give yourself 5 minutes before you give into a craving. So emotional eating tends, like we said earlier, it tends to be automatically and virtually mindless. So just take a moment to pause and reflect when you're hit with a craving. Give yourself the opportunity to actually think about it before you act. Like, can you put off eating for 5 minutes? And then while you're waiting, check in on yourself. Like, how are you feeling? What's going on with you emotionally? And then put everything you're feeling and craving down on paper. Get that mood and food diary out and put everything down on paper. And then as well, this is a huge one here, is like learn to accept your feelings, even the bad ones. So at times it will sometimes feel that you're powerless around food if you do use food as a coping mechanism. But emotional eating actually stems from feeling powerless over your emotions or out of control over a certain situation. So you can't control your feelings, so you avoid them with food. Allowing yourself to feel uncomfortable emotions can be scary and not nice, but the truth is, when we don't obsess over or suppress our emotions, even painful feelings, they subside quickly and they lose their power to control our attention. So, to do this, you need to become mindful and learn how to stay connected to your emotional experience. Okay, and then practice mindful eating. So eating while you're doing other things such as driving, playing around on your phone, watching TV can prevent you from fully enjoying your food since your mind is basically elsewhere. And you may not feel satisfied or continue eating even though you're no longer hungry. So eat mindfully. Eating mindfully can help you focus your mind on the food and the pleasure of a meal and curb overeating. Like for me personally, as a child, we always had to like sit at a table and have our food. Like our parents would never let us like sit and watch TV. And even now as an adult, I will always sit at my table. I'm not distracted by my phone. There's no TV. Even just when I'm at home alone, I will still sit at the table because I know if I sit in front of the TV, I'm just mindlessly eating. I'm not actually thinking about my food. I'm not chewing it as much. I'm kind of more engrossed in the TV or whatever else is going on. So, practice that mindful eating and eating without distraction. All right, so here's some alternatives as well. Alternatives to emotional eating. So if you're feeling depressed, lonely, call someone who makes you feel better. Like, or write down 5 things that you're grateful for and accept that you're feeling sad. If you're anxious, go for a walk, listen to an uplifting podcast, journal your feelings, listen to some of your favorite music. If you're exhausted, take a hot bath, light some scented candles, read a book, and get an early night. If you're just feeling bored, maybe read a good book, get outdoors, declutter your space. I think decluttering and making sure that your area is tidy, organized, as they say. What do they say? Tidy house, tidy mind. Call a friend, watch a movie, or turn to some activity that you personally enjoy doing. Okay, and then I put down here, make a dopamine menu for yourself. So I don't know if anyone watching this on the replay wants to take a screenshot of this, but here's some things here to help you get that hit that you need from other things aside from food. So blasting your favorite music, singing out loud always helps. Have a little dance party or jump on the spot. Drawing, painting, knitting, colouring, puzzles, whatever it is, if you enjoy arts and crafts, going for a walk without your phone, maybe even just going for a drive around your neighbourhood, taking a hot shower, meditation, call a friend, family member just for a chat, go for a run or bike ride, write a letter to yourself. I've done that often. Just write a letter to yourself. And I tell you what, if you get like a little um, book and every couple of months just write a letter to yourself, it's so good to go back and read those letters like years later. Write down a list of things that you're grateful for, listen to a podcast, read a book, even playing with your animals. I know for me, Ralph, if I'm having a down day, having a cuddle with Ralph or just messing around playing with him really does help. And then the last one is support yourself with healthy lifestyle habits. So when we're physically strong, relaxed, and well rested, we're better equipped to handle life's curveballs. But when you're already exhausted, just overwhelmed, or not taking care of yourself, not eating well, not getting any movement in, like just any little hiccup, doesn't matter. Like it can be something so small and it can have the potential to send you kind of like off the rails and straight to the kitchen. So just a little list of things here to help you support yourself. So make daily movement a priority. Aim for good sleep. 8 hours is a good target to aim for. Everything is easier when we are well rested. Make some time for relaxation and self care for you. connect with others, even like if you're having some down days, like don't be afraid or embarrassed to tell others how you're feeling, connect with others. Make sure that you're eating well balanced meals that are going to help keep hunger at bay and keep you satisfied and energized. Journal and meditate. So there's just a list of some things there that you can do to support yourself. If you want to take a screenshot of that, you're welcome to take a screenshot of that. And if I go back to the previous one, if anyone wants to take a screenshot of this one. So let me just. So that's everything that I had to go through. I think we still have a little bit more time. So if Tanil, do you have any questions at all?
I don't think so.
All right, did you find that helpful?
Definitely.
Okay, good.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I tried to kind of like just get everything, just the main things in, basically just discussing like what emotional eating is, why we do it. And I think understanding the difference between emotional and physical hunger is huge. And then just some things here that you can do to help yourself when you're but I think the first thing with changing any habit is that awareness, is recognizing that this is what you're doing. This is something that has become a habit. It's now a problem. So, you know, being aware that it is a problem and distracting yourself and turning to other things to help you manage that stress, because it is just a way of managing stress. It's a coping mechanism, reaching for food. And, people do it with other things like drugs and alcohol. Is pretty much the same thing. But there are other things that you can do here to help, combat stress and not reach for food every time that, you're having a bad day or you're stressed. And so, yeah, so hopefully this education call was helpful. So if you don't have any questions to Neil, I'm going to end it there. I'm going to download this, and this will be this recording will be added to your client resources, so you have access to this education call and all the other ones as well, whenever you want to go in and watch some of the education calls.
Great, thank you.
All right, so now, well, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll look forward to checking
Thanks, you
in with
too.
you this week.
Awesome.
All right, take care. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.